Hello and welcome to Clune Construction Company's Safety 101 video for the year 2024. This video is required training for all workers prior to starting work on Clune projects. It is the responsibility of the prime trade partner's competent person to ensure that all tier trade partner employees have completed this training. This video provides general safety requirements and is based on federal OSHA construction standards. The safety requirements where you are working may be different based on state, local, building and owner safety requirements. Ensure you are knowledgeable of those differences. This a narrated PowerPoint presentation. After you will digitally sign an attestation that you have taken the class and understand Clune safety guidelines. Print or screenshot the signed attestation and bring it to your next Clune project. Show the screenshot or printed attestation to the project superintendent and you will receive a Clune helmet sticker. The helmet sticker that is provided is good for the calendar year indicated on that sticker, meaning that this training should only have to be completed once per year for each employee. As we begin this training, we wanted to take the time to highlight Clune's core values, nationwide. As you can see, safety is at the top of not only this list but it truly is a top priority on all Clune projects. All of what we will cover in this training today is in place to impact the overall safety of every Clune project. Education about potential hazards and safe work practices, including the proper use of personal protective equipment and the safe handling of tools and equipment, is crucial in promoting safety awareness. Effective signage with communication and collaboration between workers and management play a vital role. Regular safety meetings and an open-door policy for reporting concerns encourage a culture of transparency and accountability. Safety awareness is critical while on any Clune project to ensure not only your safety, but the safety of those around you. It is important to be able to recognize and understand the potential hazards that workers may be exposed to while on the project. By recognizing and understanding these hazards, workers will be better equipped to prevent injuries as well as incidents. Education pertaining to potential hazards and safe work practices are just some ways Clune promotes safety awareness. Effective signage is also utilized throughout the project as a means of safety communication between management and trade partners. Finally, each and every Clune project utilizes regular safety meetings as well as an open-door policy for all on site to report concerns or areas of improvement. This has been crucial in encouraging a culture of transparency and accountability. The personnel performing the work at the site each day play a critical role in maintaining a safe working environment on each Clune project. These are the individuals largely responsible for also upholding Clune's safety expectations. One of these expectations is each employee wearing all the proper and required PPE. Although, it is important to keep in mind that PPE is the last line of defense in terms of keeping you safe on any project. Another expectation is that employees utilize proper lifting techniques or equipment when moving materials/tools throughout the site. We expect that each employee will report and correct any potential hazard or near miss to their immediate supervisor. Each and every employee not only has the power, but is also encouraged to stop unsafe activities, report potential risks, and be a part of the collective effort of maintaining a safe working environment. Understanding that it could make the difference of preventing an incident or injury. If you see something, say something. This may prevent an injury to yourself, a coworker, or the public. These are just a few of our basic expectations on all Clune projects. Every employee holds their own unique safety responsibilities when working on Clune projects. First of these responsibilities is to participate in the completion of the Daily Hazard Analysis, or DHA. This document is required to be completed and submitted at the start of the shift by each trade partner. The competent person or foreman of each trade partner should complete the DHA with full participation from the crew performing those tasks that day. This assists with ensuring they all understand the hazards that are present and the mitigations in place to protect them. We also ask that each employee take 5 prior to starting the workday or a new task. The 5 that we reference are: stop and look, assess the work, identify the risk, control the hazard and communicate it to others, execute the task safely. We have found that doing these 5 things prior to any task allows the task to safely be executed. Also, as mentioned previously, it is the employee's responsibility to correct and report any unsafe acts or conditions. We ask that all employees participate in all safety-related meetings and trainings as well as participate in incident investigations if needed. Last but certainly not least, we ask everyone to adhere to all safety guidelines, protocols, and procedures that have been established by Clune. We will now discuss prohibited activities while working on Clune projects. Firearms and other weapons are strictly prohibited on Clune projects. Smoking is only permitted in designated smoking areas and is not allowed in the work area at any time. Clune Construction has zero tolerance for horseplay, theft, fighting, or drug/alcohol use. Also, offensive language or written material is against Clune's Code of Personal Conduct. Please note that the use of headphones, earbuds, or AirPods is not allowed at any time while working or operating equipment. Employees found in violation of these guidelines will be subject to disciplinary action, up to and including immediate removal from Clune projects. PPE plays a critical role as a last line of defense in a construction site's evolving and fast-paced environment. This starts with proper clothing, which is required on all Clune projects. Proper clothing consists of hard-soled work boots/shoes, long pants, and a shirt with a minimum of 4-inch sleeve. Then we have certain PPE items that are required on all Clune projects, daily, such as an approved hard hat, safety glasses, and a high-visibility top or vest. There are certain tasks or scopes of work that require additional forms of PPE such as using a face shield while cutting studs, hearing protection while working around loud equipment, or the use of cut-resistant gloves when handling material with sharp edges. We often encounter situations where respirators are required as well, for example any activities that generate silica dust. It is important to note that many strict regulations regarding the use of respirators will need to be adhered to prior to them being permitted for use on site. These are just some examples of situations where additional PPE would be required in addition to the already mandated PPE. Your HRA management plan and completed DHA will detail task-specific PPE requirements for high-risk activities. Also, some projects do have specific PPE requirements, and, in this case, these special requirements would be provided to all in the pre-construction phase. Housekeeping is critical in keeping a safe workplace. That is why it is essential to maintain a clean and organized job site throughout all phases of a project. This not only assists with the overall safety of the project but also assists with keeping the project progressing as smoothly as possible. The following are important housekeeping standards that are to be followed on Clune projects at all times. Stored materials cannot block doors, exits, egress pathways, electrical panels, or access to fire extinguishers at any time. In the event of an emergency, having clear and safe access to these locations is critical. All materials should be stored and secured on mobile racks and pallets to allow for easy relocation. Additionally, all locations used for material storage should be clean and free of debris to prevent tripping hazards. As crews change their work locations, they should be leaving the previous location clean and free of debris. All trash and waste should be placed into a trash receptacle to avoid the buildup of trash throughout the site. The Clune Safety Banner, otherwise known as the Emergency Action Plan, provides you a ton of essential project-specific information. Some of the information provided includes an emergency egress map showing routes of evacuation from the work area, the emergency exits, and the meeting location in the event of an emergency. The location of the emergency shut-off valves for the fire sprinkler system and other mechanical disconnects will also be reflected on this map/floor plan. Also, on the safety banner you will find contact information for the Clune field personnel leading the project, building contacts, as well as the key contact information for each trade partner. A QR code taking you to an SDS database for the chemicals that will be used on the project can also be accessed through the safety banner. Finally, you will find project-specific guidelines such as delivery hours, the location of restroom facility, as well as any hours that noise will need to be restricted. As you can see, this banner provides a large amount of information, which is why it is critical that prior to starting work on any Clune project, you take the time to review and become familiar with the safety banner. These banners can always be found near the entrance to any Clune project. A critical piece of the overall safety of every Clune project lies in the documentation requirements. To kick off these requirements, prior to starting work, Clune and all its trade partners will have a signed contract with all applicable exhibits and certificates of insurance in place. Also, any high-hazard work will require a high-risk activity plan, or HRA, to be submitted to the Clune team for review prior to that work taking place. These specific activities will be discussed in more depth later in the training. Toolbox talks will also be required to be submitted to the Clune team on a weekly basis. This is a toolbox talk that is provided by the trade partner and to be reviewed with their crew. We will collect all SDS-related information prior to starting work on the project. Any training certifications that may be required for specific tasks on the project will also be collected by the Clune team for those individuals performing that specific task. The foreman from each trade partner is responsible to complete the DHA at the start of each shift. Depending on the tasks being performed, additional daily forms may be required to be completed, such as the Clune hot work permit for any hot work or spark-producing work, and numerous other forms for various tasks. All of this information is also provided in the Exhibit S of all Clune contracts. The hierarchy of controls lists the 5 types of control measures that can be used on a construction site. As always, elimination and substitution are the best ways to deal with hazards, as they completely remove the risk or hazard entirely or replace the task or scope of work with one less hazardous to those performing. For example, if we can eliminate the risk of falling into an open trench by backfilling the trench, that will always be our best option. An example of substitution that is commonly utilized with regards to chemicals would be replacing a solvent with a less hazardous product. When neither of these solutions are available, we move down the list to engineering controls. These are controls that provide an engineered solution to prevent workers from encountering a hazard. A few common examples of engineered controls include tool guards on power tools, guard rails around open holes, and ventilation of enclosed spaces. Administrative controls are changes in policy that help prevent worker exposures. For example, limiting the time an employee can be exposed to a hazard following OSHA regulations. Finally, personal protective equipment, such as hard hats, safety glasses, and cut-resistant gloves, are be provided to the workers to help prevent direct bodily injury or direct exposure to the hazard. It is important to note that administrative controls and PPE are the least effective measures because they require the workers to change their behavior and follow policies. Whereas with elimination, substitution, and engineering controls, the worker is prevented from ever being exposed to the hazard in the first place. Now we will discuss the process and hierarchy of high-risk activity management. We categorize high-risk activities, HRAs, into 3 management levels. Level 1, program level. At this stage, the performing trade partner is responsible for furnishing an initial high-risk activity plan. This plan encompasses a comprehensive job hazard analysis and a step-by-step method of procedure, outlining the specific process for executing the high-risk activity. The trade partner is required to submit this initial HRA plan 4 weeks ahead of commencing the task on the project. This allows all necessary parties to have the opportunity to review the HRA plan. Level 2, activity level. The initial HRA plan will be integrated into the POL planning sessions, which occur in the 3-week look-ahead schedule. A meeting will be scheduled 2 weeks before the activity, involving the trade partner and the Clune field management team. During this meeting, the plan will be reviewed, and suggestions for adjustments will be considered. The trade partner will then submit the revised HRA plan 1 week before the task is set to commence to the Clune field management team. Level 3, Task Level. On the day the HRA task is scheduled to take place, the trade partner will conduct a meeting with all individuals impacted by the activity. This final meeting provides an opportunity for last-minute changes and plan updates, as well as ensures that any immediate modifications can be addressed. For subsequent HRAs that involve similar activities following the initial one, completing Level 3 is mandatory for these additional planned activities. This process is required to ensure the safety of the overall task from start to finish. In the following slide, we will take a closer look at what common high-risk activities we may come across at any phase of a project. High-risk activities in the construction industry refer to tasks or operations that inherently involve a greater likelihood of accidents, injuries, or adverse events due to their complexity, the potential for human error, the presence of hazardous conditions, or a combination of these factors may be present. These activities often demand meticulous planning, specialized skills, advanced safety measures, and continuous monitoring to minimize risks and ensure the well-being of workers and the overall project. Examples of high-risk activities that are often encountered on Clune projects include working at heights, excavation and trenching, confined space entry, demolition, use of heavy machinery, electrical work, and tasks involving hazardous materials. Below is a list of identified high-risk activities that you will need to provide a written mitigation plan to Clune Construction prior to starting work on these tasks. In the next slide, we go through the 3 levels of reviewing and implement these high-risk activity plans. Task-specific HRA management plans: fall protection, ground disturbance, excavation, lifting operations, hazardous energy isolation, scaffolds and aerial/scissor lifts, driving and mobile equipment, hazard communication, demolition, material handling, fire prevention and protection, confined space, environmental HRA management plans: hazardous materials, asbestos, lead, mold, heat illness prevention, cold illness prevention, noise protection program, fatigue management, injury and illness prevention plan, required in California, infectious communicable diseases, as required, stretch and flex guidelines, as required. SiteDocs is web and app-based software program that will allow Clune and its trade partners to complete all necessary field documentation on a simple and easy-to-use platform. With SiteDocs, all paperwork and the inefficiencies inherent to it will be a thing of the past, and it will significantly reduce the time spent on these specific administrative tasks. The SiteDocs software allows for direct documentation completion. Effective communication on documentation is essential to every successful project, and SiteDocs provides us just that. The trade partners have the capability to access and complete all safety-related forms with ease. This platform also provides for the project forms as well as the project resources. The foreman from each trade partner will complete and submit the DHA through SiteDocs, meaning the foreman will no longer need to email or go through the hassle of a hard copy of the DHA. Other Clune documentation will also be found in the Forms tab. The weekly toolbox talks and Clune safety guidelines are also easily accessible within the Resource tab. One piece of documentation that will still need to be provided by your company is any incident forms or reports, when applicable. These documents cannot be found using SiteDocs. Next, we will continue learning more about the SiteDocs process on the following slide. All documentation must be signed in order for the document to be uploaded into SiteDocs properly. SiteDocs does allow for communication between the superintendent and the foreman through SiteDocs should the superintendent need any corrections or modifications made to the submitted document. When applicable, some documentation will need to be submitted and approved prior to the work initiating. In the event of a severe injury or property damage incident, follow these steps immediately. Ensure the scene is safe to enter. There is a reason there is a medical emergency, and you don't want to get hurt trying to help. Secure the scene, and if there is an injury, voluntarily provide immediate first aid. If properly trained, call 911 or the facility emergency number immediately. Provide the following information: type of emergency, your name, exact location of the incident, who will meet and direct emergency response to the injured party, all incidents including injury, property damage, or a near miss. A supervisor for the responsible or injured party will follow these steps. Make an initial notification of the incident to the Clune Field Management Team and any other pertinent parties immediately. Complete your incident investigation report. Provide all requested documentation to the Clune Field Management Team within 24 hours of the incident, pictures, witness statements. Continue to update the Clune Field Management Team on the status of the injured party or repair of property damage if requested. Provide a root cause analysis of the incident and steps you are taking to mitigate this type of incident going forward. Clune has numerous specific safety requirements that must be met while working on Clune projects. General safety requirements: trade partner supervision or foreman will have an iPad, phone, or other mobile device to access and utilize the SiteDocs mobile application to complete and submit all project documentation outside of incident reporting. A project-specific QR code will be found on the project which will direct you to these forms. In regard to incident reporting, all incident reports will be submitted to the Clune Field Management Team assigned to the project. This is required within 24 hours of the incident. No exceptions will be made. It is critical the Clune team receives notification immediately so all necessary steps can be taken and parties be notified. Fall protection: all activities that are subject to a fall of greater than 6 feet will have proper fall protection equipment in place. This includes steel erection activities. The trade partner will establish controlled access zones for all overhead work to protect those working in the area. Platform ladders are required instead of step ladders on all Clune projects. This additional step is in effort to increase ladder safety on Clune projects. Electrical: the electrical trade partner will complete a monthly GFCI fault test and provide documentation that the test occurred on the project along with notes of any repairs/modifications made to the electrical system. When plugging in an electrical device into a permanent power source, a portable GFCI is required to be in place. Extension cords should be hung up a minimum of 7 feet in the air and put away. Daily ground disturbance, excavation. An excavation planning checklist will be completed and turned in for review to Clune Field Management 24 hours prior to any digging activities taking place. This includes any potholing to find existing utilities. The trade partner will hand dig or vacuum excavate when encroaching on 3 feet of either side of a marked utility. When it comes to crane picks being performed on Clune projects, there is specific safety requirements that must be met prior to the pick taking place. We have listed these requirements below. Specific pick plan including all required documents is required to be submitted 2 weeks before the crane pick to allow for document review and approval. Confirm that the prior submitted plan matches what arrives on the day of to perform the pick. For example, operator and rigger cards, crane make and model, etc. A safety stand-down will need to take place prior to the first pick taking place with all those involved in attendance. Also, on the day of the pick, the operator's checklist will need to be completed by the operator, prior to beginning the pick. Once these items are complete, the crane pick will safely proceed. Clune has established the following disciplinary action procedure to ensure compliance with our safety guidelines. This procedure is one of many ways we ensure accountability while working on Clune projects. The following are some of the violations that are grounds for immediate discharge/discipline of all personnel. Gross negligence of safety and health guidelines, repeated violations, or the refusal to follow safety and health guidelines. Fighting, physical contact, or horseplay while on the project. Theft of any kind. Possession and/or under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Willful destruction or damage of or to property. Possession of any weapons, firearms, explosive devices, or contraband. Any violation of Clune's non-harassment and non-discrimination policy. The steps for disciplinary action are as follows. Verbal warning: this video serves as the verbal warning as all expectations have been communicated. Written warning: A written warning will be issued for violations cited and shared with that employee's foreman/boss and company. Final action: this results in permanent removal from the Clune project ere the violation occurred, as well as the potential removal from all Clune projects. It is important to note that depending on the severity of the action, steps may be skipped in the disciplinary process. Disciplinary action may also be initiated by any Clune project team member. If you see something, say something. Clune employee and its trade partners are held to the highest standards. Our safety records reflect this, as well as indicate we are one of the best in the construction industry. We address all issues or concerns that are brought to use by our trade partners, client, the building, or general public, immediately upon being notified. As you begin your journey with Clune, we ask that you strive to always do the right thing. Always ask yourself, if I don't perform this task safely, what is the worst potential outcome to mine or the safety of others around me? Your safety and the safety of every employee is a core Clune value.